Huh. Chris, you're at WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
I'm calling two quick unrelated topics. Last night on Channel 5, program was on, aired Hate is No Joke. And this was a show with a high school audience, and it seemed curious to me. They had all-black a cappella group singing a theme song for the program. It was hosted by a black woman, and they had 4 different comedians on telling ethnic humor type jokes. A Jewish male, Puerto Rican male, Oriental female, and a black male. And as I say, it just seemed a little curious as to it almost being directed towards a black audience, possibly meaning that they're in need of this kind of programming, or whites. It's okay to hate white people. I'm not sure what they were exactly trying to say with the way they had it arranged. I'm sure that he didn't get home in time to see it last night, but
I know what you're talking about, because this theme, this pernicious theme, is evident in many programs and endeavors similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And at the outset of the program, or fairly early in the program, I read a letter from Kelly Rhodes, a sophomore.
Yes, I heard it.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
Well, see, she's saying the same thing. If you notice, whenever anybody talks about hate, whenever anybody talks about bigotry, they're not talking about black bigotry or black hatred. They're talking about white bigotry and white hatred.
Right.
It's always that way.
But, I mean, they couldn't find a white comedian to be on? It just struck me, as I say, I watched it just to see.
Well, they did have a white comedian. You said they had a Jewish guy?
Well, yeah, I guess they're putting him in the white category.
Well, he is white.
I guess. All right. Also, I wanted to mention something about casting my ballot today in New Brunswick, New Jersey, where I live. I went down there, and they found my name in a large book, which had a sign showing that I was there voting. And then they gave me like a voucher, a blue ticket to sign, where I get.
Yeah, that's right. Well, wait a minute. Are you a registered Democrat?
I'm not registered either way. I just.
Well, then how the hell did you vote? Independents don't participate in primaries.
Well, no, I just voted for the first time in the presidential election in New Brunswick.
Well, then you're not registered in either party.
Right, exactly.
Well, then how did you vote?
Well,
I mean, how did you participate in a primary when you weren't registered in either party?
Well, I registered to vote originally down at the Board of Elections.
You're missing the point, Chris. This is a primary.
Yeah, I understand.
Independents cannot vote in primaries.
I've never declared myself one way or the other.
Chris, come on, fess up, tell the truth.
No, I am telling the truth. This is what I wanted to tell you. I went into the booth. I had signed this blue ticket, right? I didn't bother reading it. I just thought it was a voucher to go ahead and vote. And I got in the booth, and I was attempting to pull the lever, and it wouldn't move. And I inquired, and they started telling me that, we are you voting Republican or Democrat? And I said, line A, Republican. And they said, well, we have to avoid this, and they made me step out and sign a pink ticket, which said...
Well, I'll tell you why.
When I noticed that it did say Republican, and the other one was Democrat.
Yeah, the blue was... That's why when you told me they handed you a blue ticket, I thought, wait a minute, what's this guy pulling here? The blue ticket was the Democrat ticket.
That's what I was going to tell you. They automatically assumed that they said, well, most people come in here voting Democrat, and we didn't ask. We forgot to ask. I said, you didn't forget to ask. You automatically assumed that it was
Oh, really?
Democrat. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
I don't know how they do business over there in New Brunswick, but in Woodbridge, it's very efficient.
Yeah.
And they just they asked Republican or Democrat, and I said in the loudest possible voice, Republican.
Right.
And they gave me the pink ticket.
Well, as I say, they took the assumption that it was a Democratic vote, and I was kind of perturbed by it. The people.
Well, what be perturbed? You did get your pink ticket. You did vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
WABC, nothing is simple anymore, ladies and gentlemen. There would be no fun. If things were simple. Mike, what's on your mind?
Hi, Bob. Just 2 quick points about this immigration. Even though the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution all say that our rights are God-given and inalienable, I think we all should remember that those rights were fought for. We had to throw off the yoke of British oppression, okay? It wasn't something that was just handed to us.
All right, what's the point here? Where are we going with this dramatic speech here?
The point is that I don't see why we should just hand over these freedoms to the Chinese immigrants. I shed no tears for those people who, with the ship.
Well, I don't either. What do you propose we do, Mike? See, if I had the authority, I would ask the United States Navy. I know we have submarines at sea, but you see one of these ships with these illegal aliens, put a torpedo in the bow and sink the damn ship.
I agree.
Then word would get back. Word would get back. Ooh, they sink a ship.
Yep.
They sink a ship.
Yep.
They sink a ship. Nobody would come over.
The point
that it ended right there, damn it.
Why don't they fight for their freedom in their own country? Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Why don't they fight for freedom in their own country? They tried it in Tiananmen Square on June 4th, 1989. People say the dumbest things on this program. I wonder if I have anything to do with that.
This summer, you can take your family to the only place on Earth where living fossils roam in their natural environment. Congressional House Pictures presents Steven Spielberg's Geriatric Park.
Stand back there, Billy. It's 2 o'clock. Senator Metzenbaum could wake up at any minute.
Scientists have cloned the cells of New Deal Democrats, and despite their harmless appearance, they can be extremely dangerous.
Oh, my God. Tom Foley is coming toward me. What do I do?
Don't worry. They never attacks you when you stand totally still. Stare into his eyes and hand him your checkbook.
Geriatric Park, where disaster awaits at every corner.
Hey, Jerry, where the heck is your wife?
She fell into the entitlement tar pit.
That's it. Well, at least the government will cover those funeral expenses, huh?
Oh, good point.
Geriatric Park, home of the frightening Barney Frankus Liberalis, the Carol Moseley Brontosaurus, and who could forget their leader, the granddaddy of them all.
What the heck is that?
Oh, my God. It's the Archensaurus Pax Suspendus.
Geriatric Park, because no matter how many years pass, some things always stay the same. Coming soon to a theater near you.
From EIB World Films Distribution Limited. Geriatric Park. Liberalis, Barney Frankus.
Well, I've had a pleasant hour or so just trying to catch up on some of the mail that piled up over the weekend. Gets things like this. To Bob. First Hillary, then Jennifer, now us. From fanatical right-wing lunatic fringe, Al, Hugh, Mike, and Paul, 42nd and 5th. All right. Hello.
Can't believe it, Bob. It's good to talk to you. I listen to you every day. I just want to share with you a fact that it's been upsetting for me, though, in the last year or so. I respect everything you have to say, and as a matter of fact, I'm a Democrat, and I enjoy being a Democrat. And when you can laugh, it's okay. When you speak about things that the Democratic Party should be doing, I respect you for it, and I listen and I can learn something. I can't fence words with you, but it upsets me terribly if I'm sitting in a car with children and you call the President of the United States a scumbag.
What children are you sitting in a car with?
I'm talking about family. You know, we listen to your program.
So don't let them listen then.
Well,
hey, what the hell's wrong with the word scumbag anyway? What is wrong with it?
I think you've got a lot of intelligence.
No, wait a minute. What is wrong with that word?
Look, I respect the presidency of the United States.
The guy doesn't want to answer the question.
I'll let you speak if you want me to speak. Whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. Because
I'm asking you what's wrong with the word, but you don't want to tell me.
It hurts me to listen to your program.
No, don't listen.
No, I enjoy listening to it, and I want to listen to it.
Okay.
Because you know why? Because there are things that could be corrected in the way the government is run. And I respect both sides of it, and I like to hear it. But you hurt me, and you hurt my feelings when you speak in that derogatory manner. I have a lot of respect for you, and all I can ask you to do is state the things that you feel are important, and I respect your opinions. But speak about the president in the way that he should be spoken about. He is the president of the United States, and all I ask you to do is offer some respect and dignity to that man. And that's all I have to share with you.
Well, Herb, I can't do that, and I don't want to be insincere with you and pretend that I'm going to give it consideration as a politician would do. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not pleased that you feel hurt. And I don't want you to be hurt, but I can't compromise myself. I have the lowest...
Okay, you're entitled to say it. You're entitled to say the man you have the lowest respect, or whatever you want, and point out the things that make sense.
Yeah.
And talk in terms that people can listen to you and enjoy the program. It hurts me to hear the radio station all day long blast away in terms that are derogatory to the man.
Hear the radio station all day long?
I listen to you all day long, both of you guys, all the day. You know, and
what do you do when you how do you earn a living?
I'm in sales. I'm in wholesale sales, and and whenever I have the car on, I have it on your program on the WM.
Well, I'm glad you're earning a living. I wouldn't want you to relegate the important things to listening to the radio.
There's nothing better than listening to your program when you talk intelligent. Now, all I'm asking you again is keep the dignity to where it should be and respect the president's place. And if you have something to say about the man, say it, and don't bring yourself down to the level of some of the people that call you, because that's all you're doing. Yeah, I don't enjoy,
all right, Herb, okay.
I don't enjoy hearing that kind of commentary on the phone. I mean, on the radio.
All right, Herb. I'm saying all right because it's time to go to metro traffic.
Okay.
I'm not saying all right because I'm going to do what you would like me to do.
Well, you know what
Herb, if I haven't stopped it already. How many times was he going to say that? What a self-righteous oaf. What a pompous squirt. Hey, Herb. Hey, Herb, are you listening? Scumbag. Herb, are you listening? Oh, hey, Benelli, take me out of here, will you, John? I cracked up. Take me, let's see, I live in New Jersey, so take me to Marlboro State. It's not too far from Senator Max Brudner's place. He can come and visit me.
It must be done. You do things because they're right, and you hope for effect. To not do it is to mean that you're going along and consenting with your silence.
Now, with all... as objective as you can possibly be, looking at yourself, do you think you can have a positive effect on... Do you think you could turn some of these lives around? Let me put it that way.
Absolutely. I have young people right now in my organization, National Action Network, who have been turned around. In fact, the project coordinator, Stevie Dean, said that one of the reasons he stopped in the streets is because we told him not only does he have a responsibility to fight wrong, he has a responsibility not to engage in it. I think that on the contrary, we that a lot of these people identify with have more of a possibility of affecting them to not live criminal lives than a lot of people that they don't identify with. I ran for office last year and got 70% of the statewide black vote. So if I can't appeal to a segment of the community, then who can? When in the last 20 years, Reverend Jackson and I are the only one that polled that high statewide in the community. So if we cannot have an effect, then who can?
All right. Now you're going to have these rallies as they're scheduled, and you're going to put an X on where? Where are you going to put these big X's?
Right on the crack houses, right where they're doing trade, right where stores are selling drug paraphernalia, right where the trade is going down. Because if the kids in the community knows where they are, then the question is, why are they still in existence and why are they not being closed? In other communities, they're not tolerated. They should not be tolerated in our communities. I don't care how poor you are, there's no reason to allow drug trade to go down in your neighborhood. Poverty should not lead to promiscuity.
All right, so what I'm getting at here is you have these rallies. People go home and they say, hey, you know, those guys were right. Yeah, Sharpton was right. Hey, that's right. 2 days later, some guy comes up and says, hey, listen, I got a nice little joint for you, whatever. Next thing you know, they're right back at it.
Well, two things. One is the Urban League is going to have, this program is not a one-day thing. The rally is one day. The Urban League is designed to follow up where we're going to monitor and work with the local agencies in those particular areas to make sure the buildings we hit maintain closed. That's why we are recruiting young volunteers in these areas, so it's a permanent effect. secondly, if we operated on the basis of that after our initiative that other people are going to come do wrong, then we should close up the DA's offices in the precincts now, because they could say, well, we shouldn't arrest anybody because somebody will be out here tomorrow. I mean, everybody does what they can. You don't intend to be able to solve all the problems, but every little bit helps. The idea of law enforcement is that you go after what is wrong. If it was based on only eternal solution, then everybody ought to close up and just give the whole town to the drug dealers and the thugs.
Uh-huh. Now, what about...
That's why you come to work every day, Bob.
Okay, you've been quoted as saying, this is a crusade, we have been negligent, and we have allowed crime to become in vogue in our community. Why have you waited so long?
Well, because we've been doing a lot of other things. I mean, there are a lot of groups that do a lot of different things. It's just like I would suppose any group that is self-defined to do certain things has to decide if they want to go outside of what they describe to do. I mean, if I were to call the Italian American Civil Rights League, I'm sure they don't do things other than what they're described to do, or ADL, anyone else. Our organization was set up for civil rights, but it is such a problem. I've done about 16 graduations this year, and I've seen kids that think there's nothing wrong with carrying guns to school. There's nothing wrong with cursing out their grandmother. It is such a problem that I feel that we should commit some time to that, and that's what I'm doing. In fact, I've been criticized for not doing it. Now that I am doing it, I'm going to be criticized, so it really doesn't matter to me. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Hey, I'm not criticizing you for doing it, but I must...
No, Bob, I would never think you would criticize Sharpie.
Hey, how come you're at WABC? Aren't the guys at WLIB going to be mad at you?
Oh, no, I do LIB all the time. I believe in open forum, and there's no reason for me not to talk to you as long as you can ask questions. I just believe that we should not have forums where we can't question each other.
But I mean, you're on with Bob Grant. That's going to hurt your image in the black community.
Well, if you can survive your image, I can survive mine.
Well, that's going to take a lot of surviving, I know. What about this mayor's campaign? You haven't really come on strong for the man in Gracie Mansion yet.
Well, if a lot of people think I have, my opinion is that there are things that I have disagreements with the mayor, but there are certainly things that I disagree with your candidate, Mr. Giuliani, on, and I've made it very clear that whatever I do, I certainly will not be supporting Giuliani, and I certainly don't think Giuliani should be unquestioned. If he wants to come in the black community, he ought to answer questions, like I answer when I do your show. And I certainly think the distortions that have been made around Crown Heights should be answered, and that's what I've attempted to do.
No truth to the rumor you were going to throw your support to Roy Innes.
Oh, no. If I dreamed about supporting Roy Innes, I'd wake up and apologize.
All right, there you go. Okay. You ruined. I know I'm going to pay for this, but thank you for coming to the telephone.
Well, you still can laugh in the midst of adversity, Bob. You have a good day.
All right. Okay.
All right.
All right. There he goes. He does have a sense of humor, though. He does have a sense of humor. Unlike Jesse Jerkson, who has no sense of humor whatsoever, Al Sharpton has a sense of humor. And he knows I call him Sharpie Sharpton. That's why he referred to himself that way. Yeah, dear me. Well, sometimes he can be fun.
I mean, why don't you wish him a happy birthday where you were at? I mean, Manon, for us out here, I mean, you know, a little zinger you could have gave him, no?
I'm having trouble understanding you, Matt.
I said, why didn't you wish Al Sharpton at least a happy birthday? I think you were a little too nice to him. What do you think? For us out here, you could have gave him a little zinger, maybe.
Is today his birthday?
No. Just an example.
Hey, listen, I tell you what, Matt, you'd be a provocative caller if only you learned how to talk. Jose, you're on WABC. Hello.
Bob, Sharpton is once again manipulating the media. He knows that his image is being tarnished with Crown Heights. If the truth comes out about the report, first of all, he was there on the second day. He incited the rioters. That's a fact. He met with Dinkins in a men's room. Listen to this. And made a deal that 200 black people who were arrested would be released. It's a fact. He said it on WLIB. Now, let's see what happens, Bob, if the truth will come out.
Well, I know they had the meeting in a men's room. Right. There were only three people there. Al Sharpton, the mayor himself, and the men's room attendant. Now, we'll have to get a hold of the men's room attendant and see if he overheard the conversation.
And Bob, isn't it ironic? This proves that you were right all along, that Dickens chose a men's room for the meeting. Okay, Bob.
Thank you, Jose. All right, Leon, you're on WABC. What's on your...
I have no idea. Here's a man who's a disgrace to his own race. Here's a man who incites other people to riot and hurt innocent people. What is funny about this man? The fact that he gets on the air with you? That's not funny. You let him on the air. I'm surprised that you rolled over on this.
Yeah, well, I told our producer, I said the Gavones, the narrow-minded little weasels, are going to give me a bad time for having him on.
I'm not a weasel and I'm not a Gavone, but I think the fact that you treated this man with such respect is reprehensible. And I'm neither a weasel nor a Gavone.
Hey, you know what, Leon?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you'll cut me off.
No, I'm not cutting you off. I'm not cutting you off.
Yeah.
What did you want me to do? Tell me what you would have liked.
I would have liked you to ask him some tough questions, like how could he incite other people to riot?
Oh, geez, we got to cut him again. I'm sorry we had to take him off the air, but he used a no-no twice, and apparently Leon is so stupid he doesn't realize, even though he's talking on his car phone is hooked up to the Bob Grant Show on WABC, and therefore he's going over 50,000 watts of powerful radio signal and being heard by millions of people. Leon, if you're listening, you are a Gavone. You are a little lousy 2-bit weasel. I hope you drive right into an abutment, you think.
This is America's most listened to talk radio station.
Come on, let's get rid of the jingle, John. I'm tired of it. 4 o'clock.
Times we've seen them with their enacted destruction when these monsters go berserk. Skyscrapers toppling, crushing tens of thousands. Bridges collapsing, sending those in their automobiles to a watery grave. Tunnels collapsing, trapping thousands beneath the water. But before we go back and look at those movies and chuckle, just remember when you see it, that this was the scenario that was in the minds of those fiends that were arrested. And fiend is the only word to describe, Bob Grant, a mind that could try to wreak that kind of havoc and destruction upon tens of thousands of innocent American citizens. They had hoped that their bomb beneath the World Trade Center would have rocked it off its foundation and it would have come crashing down, murdering tens of thousands. They wanted to trap thousands beneath the watery grave of the Holland Tunnel. They wanted to cut New York off from the rest of the world, and the ensuing social and physical chaos would have been catastrophic. What else could you call someone like that than a fiend? And they're led like they were in Iran, but with a lunatic with a filthy towel wrapped around his head. Each and every one is a suspect. I say suspect everyone, trust no one. All of their neighbors have said what nice, quiet people they were. And while they smiled in their faces, while they ate bread from the table of America, while they enjoyed our rights and freedoms, these fiends were plotting the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent Americans. And this is a battle, Bob, that has nothing to do with the creation of Israel or America's involvement in the Middle East. This is a hatred of the West that goes back since the days that Muhammad's armies broke out of Arabia. For he said, I shall convert by the sword. And we are in the middle of a holy war, and we don't know it yet. And what a disgrace, Bob Grant, to see the mayor of this city. What is the first word out of the men's room attendant's mouth? Not rage, not anger at what was going to be done to his fellow Americans and to the citizens of the city that elected him mayor. Because David Dinkins suffers from the illness known as political correctness, he says, don't blame all Muslims. What is he talking about? He showed more rage, more anger, more sorrow at a phony shoe polish incident than he did at the prospect of tens of thousands of Americans being murdered. And because of the sickness known as political correctness, America is never the victim. America is never innocent. Because of that illness, America is always the perpetrator. They hate us. They hate America and all it stands for. Freedom, democracy, and political plurality. It is an anathema to these fanatics. And the next time you see Ghidra, the three-headed monster, think of these fiends and remember, monsters come in human form also. Thank you.
All right, that was Vintage Frank, ladies and gentlemen. Vintage Frank, who was not heard on this program for several weeks, and I must say, was missed. He is the only caller who attracts a crowd. There are people here on the 17th floor, WABC, Penn Plaza. That's really, it's not really the EIB building. There's no such thing as the EIB building. It's only a figment of somebody's imagination. But anyway, in this building, Penn Plaza, there are people who are paid by WABC. Notice I say they are paid by WABC. I don't say they work for WABC. They are on the payroll. And they sit around and they chat. They talk about what they had for lunch, where they're going for dinner, what they did the preceding weekend. And they sit around and they get paid. Hey, Manelli, you know there's a lot of people getting paid for doing nothing? Shouldn't say that. It might include John. Anyway, they come into the control room. They come into the studio because they want to be as close as possible to Frank. Even though his voice is only his voice, everybody. It's only his voice. Yeah, what are you going to do? People are strange.
Commend you again for something that I've told you many times, and that is you are one of the most fair-minded journalists that I've ever heard. You did a great job, by interviewing Sharpton. Everybody knows, that the guy is full of it, that he wants to change his image because he knows that he caused a lot of damage by the hate and the venom that he incited in Crown Heights. And I disagree with some of your callers that are criticizing you for putting him on, because really you are a liberal in every sense of the word, in that the word liberal means that you allow and that you tolerate different ideas.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how fair I am or anything like that, but let me say this. If you notice, he referred to himself as Sharpie Sharpton. Who's been calling him Sharpie Sharpton?
Bob Grant.
Right. So he knows I'm calling him Sharpie Sharpton. Did I say he was peachy keen? Did I say, hey, you're great, you're magnificent? I argue with the people here at the station when they schedule somebody. I said, it's a no-win thing. If I have the guy on, no matter what, there are going to be these gabones, like that jerk from Elizabeth, who called and thought it was the end of the world because I had him on. Well, you know what, David, really, people have a right to criticize me, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. But I don't have to accept it, do I?
Absolutely not. And see, people just want to see fights. They don't want to see open and honest dialogue. If I decided that I was only going to talk to people that I agree with all the time, then that's narrow-mindedness. Then we're only playing into the hands of the left wing, because that's the same nonsense that they do. They censor any viewpoint. They either shout you down or hang up on you or talk over top of you simply because they don't agree with you.
Well, I do that sometimes. I shout, I hang up on people. So I can't criticize that, David, but I appreciate your call and thank you.
Okay.
What's your findings, David Alpern?
38% approval, which is just a hair more than 36% at the end of May. Even though 71% of people in our Newsweek poll approved of the airstrike on Iraq, even large majorities didn't really think it would do much good. 76% said it would not prevent Saddam Hussein from plotting further attacks on U.S. targets. 72% said it would not prevent future terrorist plots by Islamic fundamentalist groups and others inside the United States. 3/4 said it would, or 2/3, I should say, said they didn't think it would prevent Iraq, Libya, other nations from supporting terrorist attacks. So approval, but not a great deal of optimism, and disapproval of the major domestic issues that are really most important to people. Only 29% approve his handling of the budget deficit. Only 31% approve his handling of the nation's economy.
Can we make anything of this, or is this so ephemeral? Is this so transitory that it'd be dangerous to make too much of this?
Well, it is exactly the phenomenon of what happens when a president does something dramatic like this. There is a brief rally round, and then things generally revert to the status quo ante. Bush's ratings increased 9 points in late '89 after the Panama invasion, but his ratings reverted to the same levels they'd been before within 5 weeks. And of course, we know that Bush may have thought himself guaranteed the election after the Gulf War, but we know how that faded.
Yes, of course. Everybody else thought he was invulnerable too, except for, I guess, Bill Clinton and a couple of others. Does this mean that the basic imprint that a person has, the basic view that a person has, doesn't really change? That although temporary rises may occur, they will. In other words, what I'm saying is...
No, I think that it's not true that the mindset on Bill Clinton is now in concrete and can never be changed. It can't be changed by something ephemeral like a one-day 23-missile airstrike, but on key questions like the economy and the deficit and the way people are really feeling about the country 3.5 years from now, things may very well change. This is early goings, and indeed, a majority still think that Bill Clinton cares about them, 56%, and about that same majority, 55, 56%, in a poll that we did at the end of last month, said it was far too early to say that he was in the process of ruining his presidency this early on.
Well, even though you're in the business you're in, do you think sometimes that maybe we do too much polling?
Well, I'm not sure that it's only the polling. I think that the media has begun to focus on every small item. It's all good copy, it's good talk show, it's good journalism, or at least it sells. And it makes it very difficult for a president to accomplish the kinds of compromising and day-to-day political deal-making that in the past made this country go. The kind of deals that Lyndon Johnson is now admired for as history, if they are picked up by daily journalism, people say he's selling out, he's got no principles, all of that. We live in a very media-drenched society. It's good business for you and for me, but it makes it awfully tough to be president.
Some people don't believe me when I tell them how low Harry Truman's approval rating was in 1952 when he decided not to seek re-election.
Well, that's right. I mean, presidents, these things do vary. They vary both briefly in these hot rally situations, and they vary considerably if by the end of a term, people feel dissatisfied. That was true for Ronald Reagan. It certainly was true for George Bush.
One final point. Of course, when you're doing the type of polling that we have here, asking for the approval rating of a president, that's just judging one person in his job. The dynamics could change if it were an election and he were pitted against a challenger, right?
Well, of course. I mean, a choice really depends on what the alternative is. And there have been many situations, both in local politics and national politics, where somebody was not popular, but in preference to the competitor, certainly got the majority of the votes, or at least a winning plurality.
Appreciate you coming to the telephone. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Bob.
That's senior editor David Alpern in a program dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions. And what is on your mind this afternoon? I told you so. I told you so. This insanity with gender equality, this insanity of these cockamamie judges who really belong in a booby hatch, of ordering police departments to hire women, doing jobs they weren't meant to do. From a how does this grab you file, how does this grab you? Actually, this qualifies for the I told you so file. 2 on-duty transit cops were mugged in a Brooklyn subway station while they were on their lunch break. Mind you, these are two cops. And, of course, these two officers, understandably, are in trouble with the department for being on duty unarmed. You see, they left their guns somewhere else, and the 4 teenage mutant muggers got away. Oh, one other thing I forgot to tell you. The officers' names are Susanette Thompson and Helene Bizot. Susanette, like in luncheonette. Well, we know Susanette is special because she can't just be Susan. Anyway, 2 female cops. It's a mutually exclusive term, my friends, mutually exclusive. Anyway, speaking of cops, there was a fine officer by the name of Thomas. That was his last name. Rudolph Thomas. Police officer Rudolph Thomas. He's dead. He's dead. He was shot down by a mutant, John Williams, 24 years old. Oh, by the way, did Williams suddenly decide to turn to crime when he shot the 27-year-old 3-year veteran of the housing force who grew up in the neighborhood, who was sitting on his motorcycle outside of Delhi at 922 Pennsylvania Avenue, East New York section? No, he didn't turn to crime that day. You see, John Williams is an ex-con whose lengthy arrest record includes several robbery and gun possession charges. Although he's only 24, he served several years in prison on a robbery conviction. And, of course, again, the inevitable question, number one, why do we allow such mutant predators who only rob, rape, mug, and kill, why do we allow them to continue their inimical existence? Oh, you don't want to inflict the death penalty? All right, then keep them locked up until they croak. But I'm speaking into an empty cavern here. We will never gain the sanity. We will never be logical about our approach. And fine young men like Rudolph Williams will continue to die because of the stupidity of our system. All right, George, you're on WABC. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Grant. I read the article of Jack Newfield on Roy Ennis. And I was surprised because I like Roy Ennis, but I never knew that he was a character witness for Lyndon LaRouche's organization and didn't believe that Lyndon LaRouche or his associates was anti-Semitic. And also, he was a great defender of Idi Amin, the demented tyrant who admired Hitler. And some of the things that I'm reading from this report from Jack Newfield, it's unbelievable that Roy Ennis is the same person. I'd like to know if you read the article, how you feel about this.
Well, I think that you have to ask a couple of questions. Number one, did Roy Ennis believe what he was saying at the time? If he did, question number two is, does he believe it now? If he does believe it now, then I have a serious problem with Roy.
So do I.
I
like the guy, but after reading this article, and Jack Newfield is the type of guy that you, most of the time when he says something, he has investigated it.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, George, forget about Roy or Jack. What about George? Why is this of such a concern to you?
Well, for one reason, I like Roy Ennis. I believe in Roy Ennis, and I think he would make a nice mayor for New York. Which I don't think he'll ever win it because you got Rudolph Giuliani, who I like also.
Well, the reason I asked you the question I did is, I just wonder whether what he said in the 1970s, whether that would influence how he would conduct himself in the year 1993, 1994, 1995, as the mayor of the city of New York.
Well, I would doubt it, but it's just a little hard to connect the two guys, after reading this particular article, and then...
well, that was in yesterday's paper, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in yesterday's paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Grant.
Not at all, George. Thank you. Nelson, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm listening to your show every day, and before your show every day, they say those guys, 324 days to go. They make me sick, and I'll bet you this Fashim is tuning in every day around 306, 307, and he just listens to these guys, 324, and he says, yes, a day less for him, a day closer to my freedom.
Well, the 324 shows to go. Is that what the guy said? Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's counting today's show.
Yeah. And what do you say about the man in Lou? He said the Crown Heights is his responsibility. He said the buck stops with him.
Well, why is he telling us what we already know? Why is he trying to sound like...
He's campaigning.
Yeah, of course, obviously. Obviously. By the way, does anybody know what he's really doing in Israel? No. What a fake, phony fraud. He puts a prayer in the Wailing Wall, in the Western Wall, asking the Almighty for peace. He had to go all the way there to do it? What a fake. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
All right, on WABC, Craig, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the deficit and about the government taking over health care.
Yes.
It is hard for me to figure out why anyone will want the government to run anything. It seems that they don't do a good job at no matter what they try to run, especially something complicated like health care. Look at OTB in Manhattan. That's got to be the only gambling organization I know that loses money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As far as the deficit goes, I don't understand how Clinton or any Democrats or anyone thinks that by raising taxes and forcing companies basically to fire people because they can't afford to hire anyone would increase the amount of money that comes in to pay taxes. I would think that if you reduce the rate and more people are working, that more taxes would be being paid because more people would be earning money and paying their taxes. Does that not make sense? Am I crazy?
Well, the answer to your question is they don't want to cut spending.
Well, I know that.
Democrats do not want to cut spending. Democrats have become masters at increasing taxes and in increasing spending.
Yeah.
That's what they excel. If that's what anybody likes, then they should vote Democrat. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
John, what's on your mind on WABC?
Bob.
Yes, sir.
Well, what you started out the program with is 100% true. I live in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, a home of refugees, Polish, Russian, Jews, Italians, you name it. And these people, when they come off the boat, when I was a kid going to school, at night they went to Old 126 in Greenpoint section. They had English for the foreign-born in that school since 1906.
That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you, John. Peggy, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yes, Bob. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I would just like to make you aware of an article that was published in today's New York Post regarding 79 athletes who are trying to get into the United States to be in the World University Games. I think the State Department finally did something right, Bob. They refused them admittance. They were turned away. And I would like to cheer them on for doing that. My daughter was one of the students that was killed in 1988 on Pan Am 103. And I would also like to ask you if you could use your influence with Senator Al D'Amato to see to it that these Libyan athletes are kept out, since they like to come into the Olympics in 1996. They hired a lawyer, a Dan Press, who was an attorney for these athletes. And he made a statement. He said the U.S. government was unfairly punishing the athletes for the actions of Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. The action could be a sign the United States also will refuse to allow Libya to participate in the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta. If the U.S. considers Libya a democracy where the people have some say in government, then this maybe would make some sense, Press said. if it's a dictatorship like the U.S. government claims it is, then making the people suffer doesn't help. Well, I would suggest there are a lot of people, a lot of families that I know right here in the United States that are suffering because their children's death has never been avenged. Nothing has ever been done. I would appreciate your comment on that, Bob. I'll have to hang up.
Well, let me say this. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't believe they should be allowed in any way, shape, or form. And I think it would be a travesty, Peggy, if they did get in. And I think your suggestion about talking to Senator Alphonse D'Amato is an excellent suggestion.
I appreciate it so much, Bob. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Peggy. Bye. John, you're on WABC. Hello. On WABC, it's Stan checking in. Hello, Stan.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, sir.
I missed you yesterday, and I realized it's because of the Yankees, you know. Ever since O'Malley took the Dodgers out of Brooklyn, I lost all feeling for baseball. It's only dollar signs over there. But, Bob, I see the Yankees are doing pretty well. I hope they don't win the division. I hope they don't win the pennant. And God forbid they win the World Series. We haven't had a celebration in New York here for many years now, and I think we're getting ready for one. You know, they're still taking the fires out in Dallas when he won the Super Bowl, and I think we should start getting the National Guard ready now for riot control.